And good afternoon to you. I'm Kim McAllister in for Nikki Maduro today. We will carry on the conversation in Nikki's absence. She will be back tomorrow and Friday. Of course, today she's at her second job, but we're going to keep this show going. That is how we're going to do it. You can click the like button right now. I'd really appreciate that support. That is so kind. And today, again, let's do it. Don't you think it worked out so well yesterday, meeting you guys and talking to you about things that I would absolutely love to do that again? So I am going to right now put the link to the show in the comments. There you have it. Hopefully somebody will feel compelled to call in and chit chat. So let's talk about Matt Gaetz. Why don't we? Would you like to? Um, I wish I could say, oh, that's horrible. You don't wish bad things to happen to people, but you know, this 41-year-old woman was arrested over the weekend for allegedly throwing a drink at Florida Republican Representative Matt Gaetz. It happened at a wine festival. The woman's name is Selena Chambers, and apparently she's been charged with one count of misdemeanor battery and one felony count of battery on an elected official. She's been released on bond. Gaetz apparently posted a statement on his website thanking the sheriff's office for their swift action. He says he will indeed be pressing charges against this person to uphold the civility of our community deserves. She's pled not guilty at this point. Vigorously wants to defend allegations. What's interesting about this, though, is that there was an investigation done. The attorney for Chambers, his name is his name is Matthew Karp. And he said his team did an investigation. And it initially shows that Representative Gaetz was both an aggressor and agitator in this whole thing, and that the drink throwing happened after some type of verbal altercation between the congressman's group and the woman attending the festival. So maybe did he, I mean, I guess you could say no one ever really deserves some type of physical act, but if you say something bad enough, shouldn't you expect, that someone's going to react to it? Someone's going to throw a drink in your face, someone's going to slap you, someone's going to do something? I mean, is it right to physically assault someone? No, it isn't. But I mean, does anyone doubt that Matt Gaetz and the people he hangs out with are offensive? According to the sheriff's report, Gaetz told officers the woman, Chambers, and another woman were cursing at the congressman and his family. Gaetz said Chambers then threw a drink which hit him in the left shoulder. Another person at the event, speaking to Gaetz at the time of the alleged incident, says he too was hit by a drink, that he was soaked from the drink. The person told police Chambers then walked away while yelling and flipping him off. Neither Gaetz nor the man he was speaking with were injured. Chambers told law enforcement she'd been drinking alcohol. I'd be willing to bet my lunch there's alcohol involved, right? She said, according to the police report, she was walking and tripped and spilled her drink on Representative Gaetz. A woman who was with her says she cursed at Gaetz as they walked away. So did he say something really rotten and, rile up some drunk ladies and get them to react? Who knows? But what do you think? I mean, you've heard people say probably before, you can only go around saying something so long before you're going to get, slapped for that, or you're going to get, popped one in the mouth for that. And again, I'm not advocating violence or anybody hitting anybody else, but how much should we be able to say or, spout off without expecting some form of retaliation? That's what I wonder. Yeah. Randy writes, it doesn't matter what we think of Gaetz, it doesn't justify assault, which is so hard to understand about this. No, I completely understand that it does nothing. Well, unless you're defending yourself, nothing would justify randomly throwing a drink at someone. But does the person who's flapping their lips and being really offensive, do they bear any of the responsibility for touching off such a situation? Karen says outrage toward a horrible politician should be applied to submitting a vote in an election. Yes, that's the way we do it, or the way we should do it. Lori says he's been out of the news for a while. He probably instigated something to get into the spotlight again. Uh, it's not a felony. Meredith says it's not a felony. She maybe deserves charges, but not felony charges. Perhaps. Yes, Vilma, thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. Gates, through legislation, is attacking people all the time, just legally doing it. Randy writing again, throwing a drink at someone can be charged as assault. It can be a felony. Well, and it sounds, Randy, to me like the cup hit Gates in the shoulder. So, you're not just throwing liquid on someone, you're throwing something hard like a plastic cup. And I don't know how hard you throw it, but that could hurt someone. Jim says, I thought Matt wouldn't hang out in a place that serves alcohol. Sorry, I had to go there. Debbie writes, yeah, I know she shouldn't have thrown the drink at the idiot, but still, understandable. If you got proof, do it. I don't take his word. It's worthless. Throwing a drink at someone, says Karen, is at a despicable politician is a waste of a drink. That's true, but I mean, just in a larger sense. And I kind of agree with Randy that, there's no justification for hurting people. But should you have responsibility for your words? Should you, you know, I guess I think back to the Oscars and the slap heard around the world, right, with Will Smith. And you've heard it I said of comedians before, or just people that are going around saying something over and over again that's really offensive. You can't go out into the world and act like that without expecting that someone's going to be upset or offended or somehow moved to act against you. I'm not saying that's warranted or justified or legal in any way, shape, or form, or even morally correct, but it is what it is. I mean, people are going to react. And so, do you bear any responsibility for that? Right? I mean, if I go out in the world and I'm constantly saying bad things about uh, people's spouses, right? Maybe I have some joke about, hey, your husband's pretty ugly there. Your wife's looking like a horse face. What I mean, whatever it might be. Should I not expect that eventually, someone's going to retaliate in a way that could hurt me? I just, and I'm not saying that's warranted, but I'm saying that's reality. And so, how much can Matt Gaetz in the world, how much ugliness can he spew and get away with? And how much should he expect that when he goes out in public, he's going to get pushback? I guess that's what I'm saying. Inciting violence or something like that should be able to say what I want, right? You should be. You should be able to. Doesn't mean, though, you're going to get the reaction that you're expecting. Kids call it FAFO. I don't know what that stands for, yowza yowza, because I guess I'm old now. Eric says, yes, Randy, but you should also expect people to shun you if you say offensive things. Right. But I think the issue here is more than shunning. Right. The issue here is, throwing a drink at you, popping you one in the mouth, whatever. Karen says, society should shape the culture. I wish they would reshape the political part of it. Mindy wants to give that woman a gold star. Matt deserves what he gets. Dave, it goes back to the freedom of speech. It is not equal freedom from the consequences of what you say. That's very true. Now, I don't think that, again, you can make the argument morally or legally that, maybe morally or legally, that assaulting someone is ever the answer. But there is some moral component of all this where I think maybe we have a responsibility to temper our words, to not get involved in a drunken rant with people. You know, they may shout, they may say something, but if you're a congressional representative, you walk on by. You know, if it looks like people are drunk and not able to really engage in the type of conversation where you exchange ideas, then, maybe yelling things back at them or saying offensive things isn't going to work. And if you're Matt Gaetz and you've said some of the offensive things that he said over and over again, should you then expect that people are going to push back on that? And again, I'm not advocating anyone assaulting anyone, but I'm saying that there's some expectation there that people would be mad enough to toss a drink at you. Play stupid games, says Debbie. Win stupid prizes. Gates is a fool. Eric says, who would have expected him to be a vindictive and press charges? Oh, I would. I would have. That's not the point, says Randy. It's like being in a public these days and doing something stupid. You should expect that you were recorded. That's true. Oh, you're gonna. Thank you for educating me. F around and find out. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Mindy says it's more effective to see the water or wine all over his face. Matt, you are not innocent and you treat women badly. We know that. Kim Schaffer writes, I wouldn't be in a room with Matt Gaetz, so I would have no opportunity to throw a drink on him. I think it was that happened at a wine festival, some type of festival out in the open. You wouldn't have had to be in a room with him. But I know you, Kim. You would have wanted to say something. Vilma says maybe the drink shouldn't have been thrown, but it's Gates's words and actions in Congress. His actions are so offensive, and he has words to match his actions. I'm sorry, it was a little confusing there at the end, but I think I get what you're trying to say. Maybe, says Heather, if you're a representative of people, don't be a scumbag in the first place. A novel concept. Yeah, I know it's too much to ask, writes Heather. Louise, seriously, snowflake Matt, it was a drink, not a knife. Dry yourself off, suck it up, buttercup. Legal or no, there are consequences to being paid. Ask your pal Tucker. As to being paid, like what, paid off? Are you saying he's some type of accepting bribes? I don't know. If I haven't seen those allegations, I have to say regarding him, nothing would really surprise me. But I don't know. I mean, it just kind of goes to the whole point of, you know, what should we expect when we um have something offensive today to say or controversial to say? I think you could think about what you want to say and realize ahead of time that it's probably going to elicit a negative response, right? Add alcohol, it's a done deal. This is the Nikki Maduro Show, and we are grateful for your support. You can find all kinds of information about this show at thenickymaduroshow.com. That's the website. You can find the shows there. You can find the podcast there because this show in its recorded version is available afterward on YouTube, and the recorded audio is available on various podcast platforms. So you can download it and take us along for the ride like we used to be on your ride when we were on the radio. So it all works out. And we'd love you to do that. You'll also find the Patreon and PayPal links there and links to the Nikki merchandise site, the NikkiMaduroShop.com. The link is also on the website, the NikkiMaduroShow.com. See how we do? It all kind of works out. I have posted the link. So if you do want to call and check in, you can do it. I'll post it again right now. And you don't have to appear via video, although you can. You can just use the shadowy gray figure that is provided if you want to check in. So there is the link. And I welcome you to be a caller to the show, kind of like in the olden days of KGO. Here we are again with more shootings. We had a incident this morning in Atlanta. They're looking for the gunman still, who opened fire at a hospital. The gunman caught on video at Northside Medical Center holding a gun. One person dead, 4 more hurt. This on top of the situation in Texas, where a man now and his wife are both under arrest. This is really a sad situation where the man apparently had opened fire in his yard, and the family next door had a baby who couldn't get to sleep. Simply went next door and said, "Hey, would you mind not firing off the weapon right now? Our baby's trying to sleep." And he got mad, went next door, allegedly, and opened fire, killing 5 people. So he's under arrest. The wife is under arrest for allegedly trying to help him elude capture. But again, more mass shootings. And now the state of California is being sued because people don't want the 10-day waiting period to buy a gun in place. Seems like 10-day waiting period. Really? They say, the lawsuit says, the critics of the law say, it is getting in the way of people's right for immediate self-defense. 10 days seems like a great uh, period of time to verify and make sure that the person doesn't have any pending legal cases against them where they shouldn't own a weapon, or some type of uh, criminal history where they shouldn't own a weapon, or restraining orders, or psychological evaluation, whatever. 10 days. You're going to complain about 10 days? You got mass shootings every one, and day another pops up, pops up. I don't understand. Don't get it. 10 days is not long enough, says Liz. Right. Kind of what I think. SF Tesla writing, police and bus drivers or train operators are protected by law from public attack. Maybe Congress people need greater protection in light of the Pelosi threats and violent hammering. Yeah, that's a good point, I think. That's crazy. Who are these people, writes Karen. They're a minority. We have to take control of this crisis. Mindy says it takes longer to get a new driver's license from the DMV. Those saps can wait. And Eric says 10 days seems fine. And I would bet the majority of people would support a 10-day period to make sure the background check clears. The ones fighting it are the far right 2A types. Well, the story says this morning, as the story goes, that California has been sued for the same reason before, and the Supreme Court declined to hear it. So we'll see. This one will probably wind its way through the courts as well. And then, here we go again. I don't know. Are you guys suffering from allergies already this season? Not to change the topic, but to change the topic, because yesterday was a hard one for me. And now we have the allergy cities, the top 5 worst allergy cities. Apparently, Modesto is among them. It is Allergy and Asthma Awareness Month. Drought water restrictions subside. Lawns are starting to return with a lush green. And there's this lawn care company, Lawn Love is the name of it. And they have ranked the US metro areas with the best and worst grass allergies. They compared 131 areas, compared things like average pollen index, number of local grass allergy tests, average summer wind speed. Modesto, California comes in 5th worst in the country, due largely to having the highest average summer winds of any metro area they studied. San Jose and San Francisco, Berkeley, they kind of lump it all together, was 2nd in the nation. 3rd coming in, let's see, San Jose, 2nd. 3rd worst, San Francisco. Berkeley, 9th. So they kind of reported it in a weird way. The worst grass allergy city in the nation is Springfield, Massachusetts. That's what they're saying they expect. So yeah, it's a hard one. This, flower bloom and all the winter rains, although it rained here in the Bay Area last night. Maybe that'll stave off some allergy suffering today. But it just seems like I think we're in for maybe a bigger allergy season because of all the rains. We'll see how that goes. People agreeing. Natalie writes, my son's allergies are going crazy. Been to the doctor 3 times in 3 weeks. Pharmacist said it looks like poison oak all over his face. Oh no. But she says the testing shows it's tree allergies, no grasses. Ooh. I mean, and how do you stay away from that? It's nearly impossible. I guess just a lot of washing of the face to get that stuff off. the whatever pollen is lands on his face. Eric says, I used to suffer really badly, but I haven't had allergy issues in years. Might be the fish oil I'm taking, or I moved to a place with different pollen that doesn't affect me as much. I had also been told by someone, again, this is not based in fact, this is just something someone said the other day. It was my husband, as a matter of fact, who said he read that as you get older, allergies lessen. So maybe you're aging out of the hay fever situation. I don't know. I think not. It's probably where you moved. Not your age at all. Eric, not your age at all. Karen says, I thought moving to rainy Gila would help my allergies. Nope. I'm surprised with the trade winds and being by the ocean that it's not better for you there. What's the name of the ranking source? Was a study done by a lawn care company, Lawn Love, and they ranked the US metro area's best and worst grass allergies. It doesn't surprise me that the Bay Area ranks pretty high on the list. Chris says, yeah, it's been pretty bad for 3 weeks. I had to take an antihistamine. Susan agrees. Allergies have been terrible lately. Pollen off the chart, says Chris, from Southern California. So, yeah. Until more bloom from it. Yeah. Kim says maybe the rain we had last night will tamp down the allergies for a few days. Kind of hoping, but I mean, it's just going to come right back, right? A lot of you guys suffering. Brian says, I've been sick for over a week with a sinus thing. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Well, you're not alone, so take solace in that you're not alone for that. Um, but back to the gun thing and the lawsuit. It's frustrating to think that anybody would have a problem with a 10-day waiting period. It just seems like that's the very least of our problems, the 10-day waiting period. But I guess you want to be able to go and get your gun. You want it right now. You want it that very day. And doesn't it seem like all of us can get angry? All of us can be moved to violence, right? So they say. Crimes of passion. People who normally are mellow, docile, can be moved to commit a crime of passion. Keeping that waiting period in place, so you can't just go out, buy a gun, and use it. That's several days to think about things, to calm down. It's valuable, I think. I mean, obviously, that doesn't affect people who already own a gun. But if you were going to buy a gun because you got angry, that 10-day waiting period could be a lifesaver. And I mean that literally. It looks like we're going to see some movement with this RSV vaccine. Speaking of illnesses, one step away now from becoming available to the American public. So the FDA approving the RSV vaccine for adults age 60 and above. They need to get one for kids. The CDC Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet in June to determine the final approval. RSV can be brutal, so it's nice to know that there may be some help on the horizon where that's concerned. I wonder if, because we have a vaccine for COVID and for RSV, if there's something in the works for the common cold. I read that was possible. The cold is related to COVID when you're talking about a coronavirus. And so it's not, I don't know, unthinkable that we could have a vaccine for the common cold. And wouldn't that be kind of cool if we didn't have to suffer that way? Of course, no cure for allergies yet, right? I don't know if you guys have been following this story about Jamie Foxx, but I have. And I'm going to show a picture of him. It's concerning because they're not really giving out much information or saying much about what exactly happened to Jamie Foxx. Just that it's some type of medical complication that he suffered, and he's been in the hospital for about 3 weeks so far. He apparently has broken his silence. He is thanking his fans. He says he feels blessed. He has had this so-called medical complication, and on Instagram, all he said was, appreciate the love, feeling blessed. His friends are still asking people to pray for him. Uh, yeah. So his daughter's saying thank you for the love, but they're still not saying what's going on with him. And apparently, he's still in the hospital. They're still running a bunch of tests trying to figure out exactly what happened. His health, though, is continuing to improve. He's still in the hospital. Doctors running tests. He is awake and alert. They're keeping him under observation. He's working toward recovery, but they're not saying exactly what happened to him. So, you know, I mean, on one hand, it's his business, but on the other hand, he's a public figure with a lot of fans and a lot of concern. And I think if you're going to ask people, for good thoughts and to pray, that maybe people want more information. So a medical complication. I mean, I'm all for privacy, but like to know exactly what happened to him because, concerning. So Jamie Foxx still recovering from whatever it was that knocked him down. Maybe they legitimately don't know what happened to him. I don't know. Not sure. Uh, it is. I want to get it right. Make sure that I get it right. World Press Awareness Day. President Biden already speaking this morning about the detention of Evan Gershkovich in Moscow on espionage charges. And um, he's not the only journalist that the United States says is being wrongfully detained. It's dangerous to be a journalist when you're sent overseas. Well, even here in America, after the Trump administration painting journalists as the enemy. But when you're sent overseas to countries where the truth is not expected or wanted, then you are at risk. And that's really kind of what's happening today. So, World Press Freedom Day is what the day is. Austin Tice is another journalist, a freelance journalist who was reporting in Syria when he was arrested in 2012. I want to read more about his case. Um, but that's the thing is you go to these countries where, first of all, they have no love really for America. And also, um, you're in places where they don't want the truth uncovered. They don't want you to tell the story. Syria says they are not holding Austin Tice, but he has been missing for 10 years. I'm going to share this story with you and show his picture to you because, I think it's important to remember that people are suffering. There's Austin Tice, a picture of him. He disappeared while reporting in Syria. The country coming out and saying last year that they deny kidnapping or hiding any American citizens who entered their territories. They say that they don't. But President Biden says they know with certainty that Tice is being held by the American government. So here you have another situation where there's a journalist, out working, in this case, a freelance journalist, and is now being held. He disappeared while he was working as a freelance journalist for CBS, The Washington Post, and the McClatchy Company. He says his family says he was traveling from the Damascus suburb of Daraya to work on one of his final pieces in the summer of 2012, when he was detained at a checkpoint. He was supposed to be leaving for Lebanon the following day. He is a Texas native. He is a veteran of the Marine Corps. He was supposed to come home and finish his final year of law school at Georgetown. And since then, Tice's family says they've received a 43-second video from his captors that surfaced 5 weeks after his disappearance. All it was called was Austin Tice is alive and had showed a group of armed men. So, yes, the Syrian government says they didn't do it. The Biden administration says, yes, they did. So you've got Gershkovich, you've got Tice. I'm sure there are others unfairly being detained for trying to tell the truth on this World Press Freedom Day. And I thought it was important to note that and to talk about it a little bit. And again, you're welcome to call in if you have any comments on anything. Uh, Comment from Karen: journalists know this could happen to them, and yet they still go out. Very brave. Do you think it's our responsibility to negotiate and to get them back? I think the government's responsibility is to do its very best to keep its people safe. Now, you can't help it if some people put themselves in harm's way, which is what happened here. Because as you say, when they take on these tasks, they know there's danger involved. Doesn't mean the truth doesn't need to be told and that it's not an important job, but yes, because we have a State Department and because we can negotiate or at least talk, because we have that power, I think it should be used to help save Americans, especially Americans out doing important jobs. I mean, you say it is our responsibility to negotiate and get them back. I think it's our responsibility to try. I mean, I don't think you necessarily give away the biggest arms dealer in the world, but I think you've got to try. And, I do. I think these are American citizens and you have to try. Uh Eric writes, yes, because they're American citizens. Yeah. SF Tesla, mm, I think you're talking about something else. We do the same for our troops, our soldiers, try to get them back as well, says Eric. That's true. Chris writes, the government exists to keep the peasants from attacking the rich. Well, that's what you say. You know, I mean, there was thought that the government exists to protect its people, that we band together into tribes or groups to help keep each other safe. So, if the government's responsibility is to help keep its citizenry safe, then I do think it has a responsibility, even if the people that have put themselves in harm's way bear some as well, to at least try. But yes, I wanted to make sure that we acknowledged World Press Freedom Day and the important work that journalists are doing all around the world to bring us these stories, because I'll report stories to you about what's going on in Ukraine or what's going on in other parts of the world, and I'm not there doing the reporting. I was a street reporter for a long time in the Bay Area, but I wasn't ever an international reporter. In order to get those stories, we count on the people that are putting themselves in harm's way and doing that work. So, it's work I think is very important. I don't know if you're tired of the interest rates going up on your credit card, but here we go again with another rise in interest rates. Today, another one coming. Another one bites the dust. No. It is another interest rate rise today. It's the 10th straight rate hike, quarter percentage point is what they're thinking. So, yeah, higher credit card rates, right? I mean, and if you have a mortgage that is fluctuating, the rates, finance prices can make or break people. So, I just, you know, it's a lot of people are losing their jobs and a lot of people in a hard financial situation right now. Speaking of international reporting, though, we were talking earlier on the Mark Thompson show about the situation between Ukraine and Russia. And this is an interesting story about Russia accusing Ukraine of targeting the Kremlin in a drone attack. Oh, now the White House says it can't confirm the Moscow report of this Ukraine drone attack at all. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre saying the administration is aware of this report but unable to confirm the authenticity of the claims. She said the United States is not encouraging or enabling Ukraine to strike beyond its border. Russia accuses Ukraine, though, of sending drones to attack Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky denying this attack. And worry that it's going to be used as reason, even if it's a false report, for Russia to turn around and mount a larger attack against Ukraine. And that is what some people are saying, some type of, full scale terrorist type attack against Ukraine. I think at the very beginning, didn't Vladimir Putin say he was trying to, take out Vladimir Zelensky? There was a price on his head. He had to go into hiding. I think he still is, from place to place to place, so that they couldn't find him and kill him. So I don't know why you would need another reason to do so. But a lot of people are looking at this and saying this is kind of ramping up the war words here. Of course, says Beth, Putin has constructed this to make an excuse. Hmm. Think Russia did it think Russia did it, not Ukraine? An excuse to mount a larger attack on Ukraine, says Liz. Yes. Karen writes, Russian politicians are notorious for lying about anything. And says John Slade, Putin's own people tried to kill him twice after the invasion. Russia is doing another false flag attack. I'm not going to be fooled, says Calvin Wong. Joseph says Ukraine should try to take out Putin. John also says, could you blame Ukraine? Yeah. Uh, and yeah, speaking about the interest rate hikes, Karen says it's getting ready to switch credit cards. SF Tesla says every month, basic revolving card higher every month. Wasn't there a 29.99% limit once upon a time? Yeah, that's robbery. Truly. Hard. Been a lot of explanations, says Eric, in Russia, officially classified as accidents lately. There are multiple factions that could have a hand in it. Yeah. Was there actual damage? Or was that the drone? Was the drone caught? Joseph also says Ukraine should try to take out Putin. Lori says, history, anyone? Nazis in Poland, 1939? The year might be wrong. Karen says, I wouldn't put it past Putin to blow up targets in Russia and then claim Ukraine did it. Yeah. But it's a little scary. I mean, I don't know if it's any scarier than what's going on right now, but scary that the attack could be bigger. We've already seen some horrific things happen in Ukraine. You know, bodies uncovered, war atrocities happen. And it's hard to think that anything could justify that type of behavior. And I hope the Russian people are smart enough to know, you know, smart enough to see it. Wow. I don't know if you are feeling like this writer strike is going to be a big deal. We've got some shows being canceled, or put on pause already. You got the late night shows. You got Saturday Night Live. Other productions and films could be impacted depending on how long the strike lasts. The first impact being fed by, of course, the late night talk shows that are written daily, all based on current events of the day. And so they have stopped production for now. I, money, it all comes down to how much writers are going to be considered worth. You can't, I mean, when you have a strike like this, it shows you can't do anything without the writer. Without the ideas, the production doesn't happen. I know they're not the big stars of the production, and because they're behind the scenes, we don't see them, but everything actors are saying, everything, the way the story rolls out, that's all from someone's imagination. It's all from someone's, being clever and creative, and they should be paid for that and compensated for that. So, they should get the residuals as well. And when AI moves in, there could be a lot of writers out of work. So, I think they are smart to fight for this. They're smart to fight to be um, recognized and compensated fairly. Kim says, time to turn on Netflix and Hulu. Well, speaking of Netflix, I mentioned crying for 2 hours last night. If you haven't watched that series, Firefly Lane, sad, yes, worth it, yeah, 100%, 1000%. Let's get to some more of your comments. John says, they say, I'm not sure who they is, but they say Putin blew up an apartment building in Russia using commandos and blamed it on Chechen rebels. Karen writes, Russia did a lot of the same in the Second World War, lots of atrocities, an eye for an eye thing, but they are brutal. Yeah. Writers can be replaced by Chat GPT. Seriously, just type in words you want to communicate and it can write you a script. Writers will be replaced. I hope not. How creative can Chat GPT be? Can they come up with a story? Or, if I just put in, if as a student, write a paragraph about World War II, write a paragraph about a love story in World War II. Or can they really come up with the interesting, nuanced, creative storyline that will attract people? There's something human about storytelling, and I would like to think that there's something AI would miss. There's some spark that we want that it would miss. I hope so. We should, writes SF Tesla, take steps now and ban GPTs from holding office. Karen says writers will be out of work when AI comes in. The studios are already planning for it. The writers' jobs are important. I don't feel sorry for people who watch TV. They can live without it for a while. That's right, Karen. Karen says it wrote me a poem about wildflowers. Was it good? Did it seem like a person wrote it? I mean, I guess a person wrote the AI program, so maybe there's some humanity in there somewhere. Can Chat GPT write comedy? I haven't tried comedy with it. Christopher, hi, says I had it write me a child's book. So interesting. Karen says it can do that. You need to feed it the words that you want it to say. Well, if I feed it the words, then why don't I just write it myself? Eric says, Karen, I found the scripts created by AI are generic and derivative. That's what my thinking is, or what my hope is, Eric, is that they would just be general, like a very dry academic text kind of, here's what you asked me for, here's the bare bones of what I need to say. There's no magic to it, there's no passion to it, there's no spark to it, there's no, I don't know, humanity, that special thing, that special, ingredient that makes something attractive to us. I could be wrong. I don't think Chat GPT can write its own new jokes or romance story. It wouldn't make any sense, says Calvin. Karen says, yeah, well, Chat GPT gave me a joke. A rabbi, a preacher, and a priest walked into a bar. The bartender says, is this a joke? And she says, yeah, the poem was actually lovely. Cool. And stars, writer proposed regulate use of AI. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, can't be used as source material, and can't be used to or train AI, the that was rejected. Well, they need to fight to make sure that's included. Natalie, AI is the next new thing which continues decimating the middle class. Well, already we saw layoffs in San Francisco at a tech company where the current batch of software engineers or tech people were being replaced by AI. So the company said, we don't need you to do this anymore. Instead, now we need people that can do this thing over here. So they got rid of all their, you know, staffers that could be replaced by AI, and they plan to hire a new crop of people that can do something else that isn't AI related yet. And stars, why striking Hollywood writers fear an AI future? Rolling Stone. Cool. Thank you for that. Chat GPT, says JR, is all derived content based on language algorithm. It can write decently, but things it is bad with are things like nuance, irony, and comedy. I would say that makes perfect sense to me. Those are things that, you know, you would only really get if you not understood language, because AI can probably understand language, but understand the nuance is the overused word there, but kind of the the meanings, the double meanings of things, or for comedy, or uh, the feelings behind things. So that makes sense. Siri gave me a funny joke, and Alexa, Mindy says, can. Vilma writes, watched Firefly Lane last weekend. Very good series. Did you cry like I cried? Oh, rip your heart out of your chest, tell ya. And I don't usually go for series like that or movies like that if I know that I'm going to be so sad. So I hate to tell you guys in advance, but I will say this one is worth it. Just the getting to know the characters all the way through, the way the past, their lives take, really good. When I think about that whole series, things that happened to them in high school, in college, when they were young women working, all those things, it seems difficult that AI would be able to recreate those experiences, things that happen to people. So I don't know. And the question, says Eric, is how many viewers would notice that they're generic and derivative, though? I think people notice. You notice when something's flat, right? If you're watching a show in the first 5 minutes and the dialogue's flat, there's not much there, you click away. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Karen says actors translate the script. It's up to the actor to put in the passion. There's only so much you can do, though, Karen. I mean, if you're working with not much, I've seen some movies that have like all-star casts. You can't believe how many famous people, how many amazing, award-winning, noted actors star in a certain movie, and the script absolutely sucks. There was one recent that was like that. I forget what, but it was like over and over again this cavalcade of superstars, and it sucked because the script was awful. The story was awful. There's only so much an actor can do. Yowza yowza, AI will always be a lagging tech. If it hasn't happened or if it's just happening, how will it know? Flo, the writer strike will be and is a big deal. They are the storytellers, the creators of the characters we love in cinema. No robot can do this in the theater. The playwright matters. I want to think you're right. I mean, maybe I don't understand the technology enough to be really scared of it, but I'm not willing to let go of that human magic. Mindy, bots don't have kids. Humans need money more than AI. That's right. It's truth. But do companies care? SF Tesla. Mark T told us about mini rooms used to conjure up comedy, rom-coms, etc. I figure several GPTs would have to connect together in order to collaborate. That way, though they might all just get wired. Was it those movies where, AI takes over? It's always because they're working together. Don't connect them together, SF Tesla. That's where the beginning of the end. Never connect them together. Chris says corporate shareholders don't want to share the profits with people who make the products. A situation as old as can be. Chris, we found something to agree on. Look at us. There's hope yet, right? Flow, creative writing comes from the soul, the particular individual or writing team's perspective. And you look at some stories, Flo, and I just think you're so right. You look at some stories and so clear that they're based on experience. Or you look at even a story like Harry Potter and the imagination that it took to come up with that, right? The work that it came to plot out all those storylines. I don't know that it would have been as special if it came from AI. If we told it, write a story about a young boy who discovers magic and goes to a magic school. What does it come up with? I don't think it comes up with Harry Potter. Could be wrong, but I don't think it does. And the sorting hat and the floating candles in the dining hall, you know, and the what are they called? You guys are going to make fun of me, but the not the deceptors, the black blobs that float overhead that come down and attack you. All those creative things and touches and parts of the show. Sure, you can come up with a villain and a heroine and some type of plot, but is it going to be magic like Harry Potter? Is it going to be magic with the character development like Firefly Lane? Is it going to have those things about it that make us so unique? Karen says, I put in the words, write me a poem with the words, Kim, lovely spring flowers, open spaces, open skies. What did it give you back? Eric says, AI doesn't understand language. It understands the rules of language. It can put a sentence together, but it's like the Chinese room puzzle, if you're familiar with the concept. I'm not, so you should call me on the thing, which I will post again. Here's the thing, and fill me in. Eric, come on, dude. Karen says, a little of the poem says, Kim, lovely as spring flowers with eyes like open skies. You fill my heart with gladness and make my life worthwhile. Oh, AI, that's so nice. Eyes like open skies. No, that's a thing. Does it know that my eyes are blue? My eyes are not blue, they're green. So are open skies green? I mean, it's a lovely thought. But if you saw me, you might think, if you're going to say something about eyes like the green hills or something else instead of saying blue. What if my eyes were brown? You know, what would you say? Something about trees or pools of warmth or something else. All right, Eric, here you are. Tell me about are you ready to go? Can I get a thumbs up? Yeah. All right. I'm bringing you on, Eric. Thumbs up. Eric Kennedy, I love all of your comments. Turn down YouTube, though.
I'm getting echo. I don't know what I need to turn down here.
It's YouTube. YouTube on pause. I love all of your comments. Turn down YouTube, though.
I'm getting echo. I don't know what I need to turn down.
Yeah, we'll hear it. YouTube on pause. Yeah, so it's
okay, here we go.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's just YouTube.
All right,
so
all right.
If anybody calls in, you have to, and I should have mentioned that earlier, you have to put pause on your YouTube because you will hear sound from YouTube and sound from our platform called StreamYard. So now you have that on pause. It's just the sound that we can hear this way. So that's one thing that you have to do. And thanks to Jim for pointing that out earlier and helping me troubleshoot it. Eric, hi, welcome to the Nikki Maduro Show.
Hey, and as you can see, my beard matches the little icon I put up.
Oh, it's perfect. Love it. So explain it to me. And you're talking about the Chinese puzzle room?
Yeah, the Chinese room, it's an AI concept. If a person who speaks no Chinese whatsoever is put inside a room and he is fed slips of paper with Chinese writing on them through the door, he has absolutely no understanding of Chinese, but he has this list of rules that says if this information comes to you, if these symbols come to you, this is the correct response. And by putting enough of those rules together, he can put together a response and push it out through the other slit. And to the person on the outside of the Chinese room, they're putting in words, information, they're getting out answers, and it makes perfect sense to them. To the person inside the Chinese room, which is what the AI is, it's just following all these rules and spitting out what is perceived as making perfect sense
Mhm.
while it has no actual understanding of what it's saying. It's told, you're saying, okay, write something in this style using these specific words and terms, and it has all these examples of other things that have gone before it that make sense in a way. That's what the information it collects from the internet, the training is about.
So that's like learning though. That's like, something
Right,
happens, you learn, then you react differently the next time, and then you react differently the next time, right? Oh, I'm frozen in
right.
time again. Yeah,
But it's not learning language. It's learning the rules of language. It's
right.
learning that if it gives a response that does not make sense in actual language, that's a bad response, and it will not use it the next time. It'll
Yeah.
instead use something that does make sense.
It's very interesting, and it's a little scary to me that it learns
Yeah.
that much. But what do you think about, and I'm sorry my video froze again. What do you think about, though, the concept of that human magic not really being a part of the learning the rules of language concept?
Um, yeah, no, I have played around with quite a few different AIs, and I do find the responses are very generic. I mean, sometimes it puts together concepts that a human would not necessarily put together uh, for some unique content, but in general, it does definitely does not get nuances. And
Are
there's a
we
lot of very subtle things that humans do. And I am a writer, so I
Yeah.
yeah I am kind of invested in this. So
What do
uh,
you think of the writers' strike, and what do you think of what they're asking? Do you think it's fair?
I think it's absolutely fair. I think they are severely underpaid.
So
I
they
think
want
they're
better
viewed.
pay, they want
Yeah,
royalties, they
yeah,
want assurances that AI isn't gonna come in and sweep in and take their jobs.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's more than fair.
A
I mean,
and so,
without good writers, we don't have shows.
well, and I
Right?
think we have to protect our people.
Yeah.
But how do we protect our people when corporations just want money, 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 money?
You
That's
know
the
you're talking to
question.
the resident socialist here.
Oh, yeah, that's true, I did forget about that, that's true. I just
Uh,
worry, and I mean, when you look at not only writers, but just what AI can do, as I mentioned earlier, there's already been layoffs at one San Francisco company because
yeah,
AI can do what the tech people there were doing. And
yeah.
so, how is this going to change our society, and what are we going to do? If AI is doing everything for us, how do we make money? How do we live? Is this the beginning of, those speaking of you being a writer, those movies where it's like, far into the future and the masses are clamoring at the gate and there's only a few wealthy people inside the tower? Is that where this is going?
Yeah, I have long been saying that back in the 50s and 60s, all the science fiction writers imagined AI and robots being there to take away all the labor, leaving humanity uh, so much more free time to engage in creative pursuits. And instead, what we've ended up with, rather than something like that, we've ended up with an AI created dystopia. We've ended up with cyberpunk and Walmart, corporations of Walmart, and we don't even get the cool cyberpunk, which is all the chrome and cybernetics. We just get Walmart and crap.
Yeah, no, that's not what we want. And I'll let you comment on this with me if you want to. Lori writes in, they need a way to make it a tool, not a replacement. As just as many teachers are trying to find innovative ways to use chat GPT in the classroom. We need to get creative because this isn't going away. And she's
Yeah, and
right, as
yeah,
always, Lori. So how do we find a way to use it as a tool and not a replacement for the things that we do?
The one thing that it does exceptionally well is it can take information from a lot of different sources and collate it. And when you're writing something, getting all those different information sources really helps fire off ideas. Well, what if this happens, or what if this happens, or what if this happens? Having so many different possibilities lets a writer um, be more creative and
Right.
think of ideas that they may not have thought of before. So it
Sure.
can definitely be used as a tool in that situation. It's
Yeah,
just,
no,
yeah, using it to be the final product. I mean, it's great for idea generation as part of, you know, I did. What do they call it? Blackboarding things, whiteboarding things, where you
yeah.
just throw up everything on there and you see what sticks. It's great for that. Um, but yeah, there needs to be the human element to refine things and add the nuance and add the special things that the robots, the AI just cannot get a handle on because there are no written rules um, to throw into the Chinese room for that.
And I wanna think the big ideas, like I was mentioning Harry Potter, but, the big ideas, like the overall arching ideas where you're creating a whole 'nother world, or you're coming up with, interesting, funny names, and things like the Sorting Hat, and things that could really only come from a creative mind, those are the things that we can't possibly replace.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Like I said, it takes information from everywhere, but it's not very good at generating new ideas. That is what humans are best at.
Eric, Judy says, "It is so nice to see you," and I agree.
Thank
It
you, Judy.
is absolutely delightful to see you. I welcome you calling in anytime you wanna chit chat about anything. And, this is it's kind of an easy thing once you figure out to turn down YouTube to pop right on. So thank you, and I wanna thank you for all your comments, because you always say the most interesting and, wonderful things, and things that make people think throughout, the time of the show in the chat. So thank you
Well,
for that
thank
as
you. I
well.
try.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for coming on the Nikki Maduro Show, Eric.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Oops, there he goes. So yes, you can use that link and you can call in, uh, talking about Chat GPT and AI in general and the writer's strike. Kim says it stole song lyrics too. The bit of the poem presented is very nice, says Flo, but it sounded almost generic, like a greeting card. And I think that's what Kim was responding to. Oh, yes, it is weird. Yes, she is doing her second job. So Jammer DJC, yes, you will hear her. Yeah, that is true. We are trying to keep the two things very separate, though, so that we are able to do both, because we don't want to make one place frustrated or upset, or making them think that we're using one to promote the other. So we're definitely trying to keep that separate. But yeah, she is at her second job, and she will be back tomorrow. Nikki Maduro, we're discussing, and yeah, she'll be back tomorrow and Friday. So we'll be back to normal. That'll be good. Thanks, the stars. It's Nikki and not a non-union GPT bot. That's true. Boy, I sure hope this. Trevor in Concord writes, Chat GPT just wrote this. Kim McAllister, a name we all know, a news reporter with her own show. Well, I don't have my own show. She is a voice we trust, a face we recognize, bringing us stories with truth and no disguise. Okay. I mean, it's kind of fun and kitschy, but it's not going to, change the world, right? Thank you, Trevor and Concord. I appreciate that. Thank you, Eric, for being on. So cool. I love to meet you guys. I really, really enjoy it. It is so cool. I'm looking forward to Mark's event tomorrow, because I want to, put faces to the names and really get a chance to see who you are. So that's going to be really fun. Judy says there is another Kim McAllister in England who is also a reporter. I tweeted her by accident once. If you're looking for me on Twitter, which I don't use very often, some mom in the South had my name already, so I had to go backwards. So it's at McAllister Kim. instead of Kim McAllister. At McAllister Kim is how I am on Twitter. You can find me there. Oh, Eric's talking about recipes. See, here's another way that we can use it as a tool. AI has access to a ton of recipes and would be able to find one that would use certain ingredients. It couldn't create a completely new dish, though. So interesting. It's always interesting, Judy, when you talk about looking people up, to look up yourself and find out who else has your name. There's a real estate agent, I think in Michigan, that has my name as well, that owns kimmcallister.com. So that's interesting. I wonder if there's somebody with your name. Was it amusing to you? It was amusing to me to find Mark Thompson, the Christian ventriloquist. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, it's interesting discussion about AI, you guys. Truly, very interesting. I'm a little leery about what this means for the world in the future, but I sure am glad that writers are sticking up for themselves and really for all of us, because I think they could have a moment here to set the stage for other industries and to help us have this new guideline that it's so clear that we need about how to treat workers in the AI age. So that's what I'm hoping comes from all this, that they get what they need and they also create kind of a blueprint for the way that we move forward. There's a lot of talk lately about the Supreme Court and ethics. But also, there's a story about the Supreme Court when it's kind of related more to people protesting. And this is the Republican House Judiciary Committee chair now launching an investigation into the lack of arrests of protesters outside Supreme Court justices' homes. Jim Jordan looking into the U.S. Marshals receiving instructions to not arrest protesters after the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade was leaked last summer. The Ohio lawmaker says there is a federal law banning demonstrations that are intended to influence judges. So why people wouldn't be arrested in that case. So I wanted to put out this topic as well. You know, do you think that we should be able to protest outside the homes of judges, or is their job so different that you don't want to influence them one way or another, that you should leave judges alone to make their decisions? It's an interesting question, I think. Let's welcome another caller. I'm so excited, you guys. I love you so much. And I'm sorry my video froze. It's a really awkward pause too. Check it out. Yeah, so we'll just use the picture. Jay, it always freezes, seizes up at the very worst, moment so that you look awful, right? But let's welcome James to the show. James, hi, how are you?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Is this your second call to the show?
It is, and I finally figured it out. Hooray!
Welcome
Yeah.
aboard. Thank you, and welcome to the Nikki Maduro Show. What are you thinking about today?
Okay, so first of all, good discussion on AI so far, and it's something I've been reading a lot about lately, and I just kind of wanted to say something in this. I think when new technology comes along, there's always a tendency to have a bunch of fear, and you can easily find yourself wading into fear-mongering territory.
Mm-hmm.
So for myself anyway, I've tried to look at this subject, really carefully and sensibly. And having said all of that, I do think this is something. This is transformative in a way that's going to be really huge and very disruptive. And I think at this stage of the game, we're kind of looking at, how will this affect writing, for example, or how will this affect artists? But when you really get into the big picture, there's a lot of change that is, I hate to sound this way, but pretty scary. So, and I think what it comes down to is the power of this technology is just almost unfathomable. I'll just give one good example that you can kind of go down the rabbit hole with, and it has some pretty scary implications. Right now, you can take AI and train it on fMRI, right? So you're scanning someone's brain. You can then show this person, like the example I showed, they show the person a photograph of a giraffe. And then the AI, just based on observing a functional MRI of their brain, will be able to recreate that image for real.
Wait,
Yep.
rewind.
Yeah.
You're saying that without me showing a picture of a giraffe, that it can take that from the memory of my brain?
Yes. This is, yeah, and this is, I know that sounds far-fetched, but this is real. I can, if you're interested, I'll send you, there's a really good, it's not a TED Talk, but it's a very similar one, that I can send you from people in the field that are working on this, that have some concerns. That's just one of many things that I think.
How does it know where I keep my memories of what giraffes look like? I mean, how
Because
does it
well, they don't go into detail along those lines, but as I understand it, it works this way. It's training it so your brain, when you're looking at an fMRI, there are certain parts of the brain that we know perform certain functions.
right?
So what the AI, through observing, and it probably can gather enough data based on it's seeing images that the AI knows and as it's calibrating to your particular brain. But then once it's adequately trained on an fMRI based on a particular individual, at some point the AI, without seeing the giraffe picture, as an example, can now determine, oh, that's what he's seeing.
It's really scary.
It looks at brain activity, and yeah, that's the power, and that's what I mean. The power of this, it's not, in a way, it's like a lot of the things that I've heard in this discussion are very accurate. It's kind of like this humongous database that it collates information from very effectively and accurately based on the data set that it's trained on. But it's just the power of it is when you really start to look at what it's capable of doing this, it becomes scary because it's so disruptive. It's disruptive economically in terms of the jobs that will be taken away. And jobs, I think right now people might think, well, no, you still need a person to do it. So take my work, for example. I'm an architectural drafter. I design houses and ADUs and all of that. Right now, my work takes a ton of knowledge. You need to know the building code. You need to know, have aesthetic judgment to design something, all of that. So you might say, well, how can a computer do that? But I'm thoroughly convinced that a computer can do it extremely well and way obviously faster and cheaper than I can. Right. So even if you don't eliminate a knowledge worker or people like me, you could easily, if nothing else, transform my job into a job that someone with very little training could do. So now, instead of whatever you want to say my net income is, you could turn my job into a minimum wage job really easily.
But would the house as it designed have special touches? Would they be the home in town where everyone's like, that is the most adorable house. It has the best curb appeal. Someone really put a lot of thought into the design of this place inside and out. Or would it just be your generic subdivision house?
Well, yeah, I think
what I live in.
yeah. No, I think it can. I really do. Or so the way because it's constantly learning. This is the thing about this technology is it's capable of learning, and its comprehension, for lack of a better word, grows as it learns. So when you say that's a great house based on curb appeal, that's a subjective opinion. But over time, if you gather enough data on opinions, the technology starts to have the ability to understand what people like. And that without dwelling on so there's that.
Right.
In terms of the jobs that will be lost or reduced drastically in terms of the value in the marketplace, because everything in our capitalist system, it's kind of supply and demand. It turns out for me, by the way, if anyone has a construction background, there is so much work doing what I do. If you want to learn how to draw plans, right now there's more work than I can keep up with. So it's a great field.
Until AI moves in, right?
Yeah. So what I could see within a year or two is you could download a product. In fact, people already kind of do this. There's like you can get some pretty basic floor plan or architectural design software, and sometimes I'll meet with a client and they've already drawn up a pretty good floor plan with basically no knowledge. They just know, okay, we want the kitchen to be this layout and this size. And there's software out there that you're not going to be able to get a building permit or have a contractor build it, but it's a good starting point compared to what I used to see, where people had a piece of graph paper with kind of hand-drawn plans. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine within a couple of years, a homeowner can download a product, and it will easily walk them through, giving 3D views of the whole house, and allow them to design their whole project, and then hit go, and the AI is going to know, okay, you're in California, this is the building code that's applicable, you're in seismic zone D, so you need these shear walls, and it's going to design the whole project ready to permit, like with literally a click of a button, because that's all just data. So yeah.
I wanted to read this from Vilma. She said, I'm not an expert by any means, but shouldn't we find and build a kill switch for AI? This could be used to stop evil people from using it for evil means.
Well, okay. I've thought about this. So when you say we, that's assuming that we're all cooperating together, globally, because this is technology that will be deployed all over the world. We know we don't all get along even in this country. And that's kind of my bigger concern. It's at this point for me, it's actually fun to look at. So AI can create music that I guarantee you could not distinguish from whether a person composed it or the AI. There's some pretty amazing stuff with what AI can do. And music is obviously
that's horribly sad, because then what happens to these people who are musical and they're geniuses and they create and they, outpour their feelings and it's cathartic for them? Do we just not need them anymore?
Well, that's the concern. Or imagine, so I have a good friend who's an extremely talented artist, and I've known him literally since I was 4 years old, and I've seen him, his art develop over all these years. And he kind of started to bring the AI subject to my attention last year. And yeah, in the art community, it's a big kind of, for people that are aware and paying attention, it's a huge crisis moment. And I think at the heart of all the discussions about whether AI is stealing their art, because there's an argument to be made, there's just so many, the AI covers so many different areas, but it is literally, my sense is that a lot of the artists are all of a sudden feeling for the first time in their life, like, I'm replaceable, and what I do will no longer have value in the future. It's that profound, because, and I hate to admit it, I'm an art lover. I value creativity more than anything, frankly. And AI can make some beautiful artwork that if you didn't know it was a cold, heartless computer, you would say that's gorgeous. And I mean, it is true.
This whole thing you're kind of scaring me today.
Well,
I mean, I guess I understood it, but just not the extent of how much our society will likely change.
It's very powerful. And then shall I stop there, or can I give you kind of my biggest worry is, I'll just leave it. I'll start with this, is the power to influence people is what concerns me. And I know we all think we're objective and we can think for ourselves and we can't be influenced. We're not, dumb like whoever. But the fact is, if you gather enough data on a person's preferences, their, you name it, things that seem unrelated to maybe their political views, even things like where do they buy their pizza or where do they shop, you can gather enough data on a person to really understand the things that influence them, and influence them in ways they probably wouldn't even know, or definitely wouldn't even know they were being influenced. So when you apply that on a mass scale, we think we've had trouble in the last 10 years with misinformation. What concerns me is we wind up in a place where nobody is ever really sure if what they're seeing is true. And that's disruptive.
Yeah, what people are saying is
Yeah.
true. If what
You,
they're seeing is true, because it's pictures, it's words, it's everything.
yeah, how do you know the truth anymore?
We got a little taste of that with the whole deep fakes, right? But I think that's going to become a lot more mainstream, and
Yeah.
we really have to question everything we see and hear. Oh, well, I saw it. It must be true. Well, I heard him say that. I know what his voice sounds like. It must be true.
Yeah.
But we can't take that anymore. That's not proof. Seeing it with your own eyes, hearing it with your own ears will no longer be proof.
Exactly. And so, and you know, in my opinion, the thing we can do now, it's scary because this technology is evolving so fast. It's evolving at a rate that's just, it's unlike anything else. And it feels, my concern is that even if we had an agreement and, you know, we could come up with legislation, it'd be hard for the legislation to keep pace with the rate of change that's happening with the technology.
Right.
In any case, I'd like to see things, you know, it's not going to be enough to try to pinpoint all the little things like, you know, labeling it as AI, or, you know, we need some real broad protections. And I would say in terms of people's privacy, you know, how much data is being mined on individuals and how it's being used. I mean, these would be huge changes, because right now it seems like social media and a lot of our internet tech media anyway, is based on getting people's attention, gathering information on them, you know, compiling that and repackaging it and selling it. And when you combine that data set with AI, the potential to control our population, frankly, it seems inevitable. I don't know how you can avoid it. So yeah, and I hate to be the Mr. Doom and Gloom, but
thanks, James.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But no, I mean, you know, if in fact things are heading in that direction, I think in a way it's better that we are aware of it, and hopefully we can do something about it. You know.
Well, James, thank you very much for the phone call or the video call today. I appreciate you taking the time to check in, and it's nice to hear your thoughts on all this. I'm a little scared after talking to you. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, but I think it's just another, you know, it's important for everyone to know these things, because it's just another signal, another, you know, thing telling us that we need to take steps. We need to create, you know, ways again to use this AI technology as a tool to help us instead of to come in and take over everything. So yeah.
And so I would just say, you know, it's a big thing, and if people haven't done so, I strongly encourage reading up on it a little bit at a time. Don't look, there's, you know, you could fearmonger around this all day long, and I definitely don't mean to do that. But there's plenty of information out there that's really unbiased, especially coming from people that have been working on it for a long time. And so I think those are the people to go to, and just be aware of what's going on, and you know, encourage. You know, unfortunately, Dianne Feinstein's not very helpful. I have a lot of confidence in Ro Khanna, my congressman here in Santa Clara. But I would encourage people, if they feel like this is something they'd like to see legislation around, just, you know, the best thing we can do, if anything, those of us regular people in the world, is, you know, write your congressperson and say, we need to be paying attention to this. You guys need to get educated on it, and we need to be working on it to protect, you know.
And Mindy makes a point, and we've even heard a bunch of tech people come forward to say this. There are inventors of such technology should have considered the potential consequences of AI before setting it loose on the people. And I think that is what Elon Musk and a bunch of other tech people have said. Let's push a pause button here.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree. I mean, it's being implemented and incorporated into TikTok, and a handful of others. I'm not a big social media user, but it is already being implemented and deployed on people, and they may not even know it.
Thank you, James. I appreciate you very much, and I hope that you'll call again soon.
I will, and I think it's great that you have this call-in feature, and I think it'll work out well. I don't think it's going to give
I
you.
hope so. I mean, it's really like the old days of talk radio, unless you're AI, we want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear what your input to the conversation is. And thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for being here and for doing that. Yeah, I'll
Very
see you
good.
soon.
Thanks for having me. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
I put the links in if you want to call in and chit chat. I'm not going to usher you right off. If you have something to say, I'll let you go for it. And I agree with what Eric has to say. Eric, another caller from today, thank you, who says this is scary, this AI thing, but also full of potential if handled properly. And that's what I think, again, as I was saying, what we need to do is Eric says Elon wants to push pause so we can catch up with the tech. I don't know. I think Elon has been talking about AI for a very long time and has issued warnings years and years ago, seeing what was coming down the road, that this type of thing was going to happen. I think kind of like when we first all got the internet, it was kind of like wild, wild west of the internet, and the laws hadn't caught up with the technology. It took us a while to do that. Well, we knew that, we saw that happen. So why not in this case have the laws catch up with the technology? Sometimes you don't know what we need to do until we haven't done it, and then we have to take a corrective action. But sometimes you can see something coming and, proactively create legislation or rules or a set of ways that we're going to behave around AI, what we're going to use it for, that will help. So why not push a pause and say, hold up, we don't want the writers to lose their jobs. We don't want the people that draft home designs to lose their jobs. We want them to use this as a tool. We don't want them to not have a livelihood. How is this all going to work? It makes sense to say, wait a minute. Before we completely change our whole society like gangbusters with AI just kind of rolling over us, let's take a moment and set something up. Yeah. Those artificial voiceovers drive me nuts. So far, you can kind of tell. Although I will say that I saw an ad, I think it was on Facebook the other day, Chris, where it was a news person, like a fake news person, that you could buy the service to use to like make a corporate video, your own, corporate video if you wanted. And she looked real and she sounded real and she was AI. It freaked me out a little bit. Lori, I'd listen to Bill Gates before Elon, though. Think they're on the same page on this issue. It's amazing to me how many people I talk to, and just in the course of a day, really believe that Bill Gates inserts microchips in people. I had one woman tell me that he sterilized women in Africa on purpose. I don't. I'm telling you, people are cuckoo. Floyd's key. AI learns at an astonishing rate. It's going to get to the point if companies use AI for everything, how are people going to make money and spend it? That's right. I mean, I would say, what are we just going to then all be on permanent vacation? But we won't have money to be on permanent vacation. We'll be in poverty, clamoring at the gates. It's going to be not good unless we figure it out. Wes says, I asked Midjourney to make a photo of Donald Trump in drag. It's a bit disturbing. If you want, I can email it. Email it away. KimMcAllister@gmail.com. You can always email me. And the show email, the Nikki Maduro Show @gmail.com. You can get to her as well. Lori says there really is no real way to press pause at this point. Bad actors will disregard the pause. We just need to get on with creating regulations and educating people on what AI can really do. John says, you want to see something freaky? Look up the AI creation of Will Smith eating spaghetti and the one with Will Smith eating meatballs. They both show a CGI Will Smith. It is very creepy. Chris says this Metrolink in Southern California still uses 1980s artificial voices at their station. The new ones, I can still tell they're computer generated. Yeah. It's a little weird. I'm sorry again for my video not working. There's another story I wanted to bring up. This story is out of SF Gate. And the headline reads, California restaurant embroiled in ridiculous battle over national anthem. This woman who owns the restaurant plays the Star Spangled Banner every day in her restaurant. Her name is Janine Paulino. The restaurant's in Southern California. It's called the Rainbow Oaks Restaurant. It's in Rainbow, which is this really small area in San Diego County. And apparently somebody took a video inside the Rainbow Oaks restaurant and it popped up on TikTok. And what it has is all the people in the restaurant, almost all the people in the restaurant, standing with their hands over their hearts, many of them, uh, as the Star Spangled Banner blares over speakers. They have TVs with American flags waving during this whole thing. And the person that posted the video wrote, "By far the most dangerous situation I've ever been in." And a lot of people seem to agree that the Star Spangled Banner would be putting them in danger. One person, according to SF Gate, writes, "I would be sweating." Someone else said, "Worst nightmare." Users from other countries said it all feels dystopian. They wondered why we would stand up as Americans and engage in this type of patriotism. So the owner of the restaurant, her name is Janine Paulino. She goes on Fox and Friends trying to defend herself after this video gets like 3.5 million views. And people are criticizing her for doing this. She says, and of course, this is going to be the mantra for people that are conservative. No offense to people that are, but this is what we have coming. It is, she says, very common for those being canceled to be given a platform on the nation's most watched news network. Never mind, the outrage appears to be confined to a single TikTok video. And there are no criticisms of the restaurant on the Yelp or the Facebook pages for the restaurant. The woke left at large is trying to cancel this restaurant and Paulino. So they had the restaurant for a while, like 6 years-ish, before they started doing the afternoon national anthem thing. And she says she's kept it going because she comes from this long line of patriots every day at noon at the Rainbow Oaks. She says some people come to the restaurant just to hear the national anthem played. And she said those upset by it are ungrateful to live in a country where soldiers have fought and died for the right to free speech. She says, I wish that she realized it's because of those men and women. She's talking about the poster, the person who made the video, that it's because of those men and women that made all those sacrifices that she's able to do that without any kind of fear at all. That she came out, this woman, expressly to raise a ruckus about something, and she doesn't have her attitude focused on the gratitude. What do you think about this? I mean, if you walked into a restaurant at high noon and the whole place is standing up, hands over hearts, with the flags waving on the TVs and the national anthem blaring, what are your thoughts? I wouldn't be scared. I would think, huh, this is weird. This is a little odd. I don't have a problem with the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance or being patriotic. What's interesting is people in other countries don't get why we do that. I think, yeah, I would be surprised to walk in on such a situation, but I wouldn't feel scared. Maybe if you were a person of color, because I know there are, some complaints about the national anthem and other stanzas that are racist in nature. Maybe that's why the person felt scared, or maybe it just felt like this weird thing to walk into. I don't know also if you can, and the article on SF Gate kind of goes into this, say that if you're grateful to live in the United States or grateful for those who defended your rights and fought and died for this country, that you're somehow less grateful to live here or grateful for those sacrifices if you don't want to hear the national anthem. You can be American and have love for your country and not want to partake in the pomp and circumstance, right? and the flag waving and the singing and the reciting of the vows, right? I mean, I think that both things are possible. That for some people, those things are really important, and that's okay. It's okay for the owner of this restaurant to do this if that's what floats her boat and makes her happy. But it's also okay. It's, just because the person made the video and said, "Oh, this is a little scary," doesn't necessarily mean that they're not grateful or they don't have gratitude for this country. What do you think about all this? You got the link to call. So come on in, have a chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Some Wes, thank you so much. That's really kind. $5 super sticker from Wes. Of course, the super chat is open. TheNikkiMadoroShow.com, also the place for Patreon and PayPal contributions. Colors of the Wind for $20. Mahalo to you. Thank you very much, Nikki, and I really appreciate that. Helps us keep on doing this, right? I mean, we both can't have a second job, or there's not going to be anybody here. Beth says, I'd turn around and leave that place. Too weird. Buck Meadow said, simple. I wouldn't eat there. Why wouldn't you eat there? I mean, does the national anthem bother you that much? Does a display of patriotism bother you that much? Or is it just that you would walk in and go, this is so bizarre that I just don't think I can hang out in this area? Oh, one first, should we not be giving thanks to God for the food we're about to receive? I don't. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that we have money to buy it and that I have a family that's healthy enough to gather around the table to eat it. But I don't recite a prayer every time. Vicky says, I'd be scared. It smacks of the Nazis. Does it though? I mean, it's not the Nazi flag. We know what the American flag symbolizes. Freedom of expression. Isn't it, what they're doing? Freedom of expression? Far be it from me to defend the, people that show up on Fox and Friends, but everybody has a right to do whatever, It smacks of Nazis, says Vicky and Sausalito. I see the point you're making. I see what you're saying. But the symbolism is so different to me that I don't think I would conflate that. Lori says, just leave if you don't like it. It's ridiculous. You think she shouldn't have made the videotape to kind of, put it out there and say, okay, Mindy, other people have their own thoughts. Just say no to that Patriot restaurant. I will use my money in a much quieter establishment. I don't have a problem with them being patriots. I have to say, I'll tell a story about my sister. My sister and I are really close, and I love her. She's a very progressive person, very progressive. And so during the Trump administration, when people flew American flags, it often to her meant they're supporters of Trump, right? He kind of co-opted red hats. My husband was wearing the other day a red baseball hat with Mickey Mouse, like a little teeny tiny embroidered Mickey Mouse hat. And I think my daughter said, you look like a Trumper. And we just looked at each other like, oh God, yeah, wow. Now that's what a red hat means. Is that what the American flag means? Does it mean, that you're a conservative or that, there's gun-toting American-loving patriots? Is that what that means? Can they co-opt the national anthem and the flag? I think it belongs to everyone. But if I walked into a restaurant, saw that happening, and saw a big group of people, I probably would say there's probably a lot of gun-toting Republicans in there, is what I would say. Wow. I mean, and does that say something about me? I don't necessarily know that I would be scared, but that's what my thought process would be. Heather says, yeah, that would weird me out. Leon reminding us to hit the like button. Thank you. Maybe I haven't said it enough. Yep. I'll click on the banner, that thumbs up button. Clickety, clickety, clickety. We appreciate all your support. And the super chat is live. And the NikkiMadoroShow.com. And get that business out of the way. Thank you for that. The louder they sing, the scarier they are, Vicky says. I mean, yeah. Buck says, I bet the food sucks. Oh, one first. The tune of the Star Spangled Banner is actually the British drinking tune. Isn't it? Not the British drinking tune, but the British national anthem? God Save the Queen? Same. Yeah. Mindy says other people have their own thoughts. Yeah, just say no. We read that. I'm sorry. Yeah. If everyone was standing, right, Cheryl, I think I'd go somewhere else. So it's the standing up that freaks you out, not like all the TVs in the restaurant with the flag unfurling and waving. It's not everyone or everyone in unison singing or the song blaring out. It's the people standing up. It's the feeling of alienation. Mindy says, I give money to the veterans. I do not say the Pledge of Allegiance every day. I say it at a public meeting. If the Pledge of Allegiance is being uttered and everyone has to stand at the beginning, I'll stand and say it. Knit One Pearl One says, I doubt the person has ever known real fear if this is what scared them so much. This person had the right to stand or not. They don't sound grateful. Maybe they're grateful, but maybe that was a little much. Oh. Wes says, this doesn't bother me, but I would find it weird. I think that's how I would feel. I would think this is weird. And then I would think, what's going on? I wonder if something happened. I wonder if someone passed away, if something happened to someone in office, or, if there's something going on is what I would be concerned about. Not that you do this every day at high noon. That is a little weird. Raise a glass to the banner. Yeah, it's true. Knit One Pearl One. My mother lived through Nazi Germany. I didn't, but I know enough being raised by that woman to say no, 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 no. So is it no to patriotism in general, or nation building, or the propaganda that kind of comes with that? Gerald, jingoism is not patriotism. The fascists under Mussolini were ultra jingoistic. Mindy Lee writes, the GOP have kind of ruined the American flag for me. I don't accept that, Mindy. I mean, if that's your personal opinion and I get it, but I don't accept that they took it. I don't accept that it's theirs. They can't have it. They don't get to keep it. That's a symbol for everyone. That is a symbol for all of us, for America. My husband was in the Marines. He served his country and is not a Trumper. So he shouldn't get to fly the American flag on the Marine Corps birthday or the 4th of July or whatever holidays are important to him because it's Trump's flag? Nope. Mm-mm. If Trump wants a flag, he has one. He's got, whatever it is with the Trump words on it. Doesn't get to have the American flag. That's for all of us. But I understand why you think that. God before country, food is a time of thanks, not British tavern tunes. Oh, okay. I mean, difference of opinion for us, really. I'm just not very religious. Wes, I fly the American flag some days, and some days my rainbow flag. Awesome. I love that. You fly the flag you're feeling. And, fly them right next to each other as far as I'm concerned. MAGA ruined that red 49ers hat too. No, they don't get to have red hats. The color red is not ownable. The American flag is not ownable by anyone except America. And that's all of us. Square, agree. Hang up the red hats. Jim says, reminds me of a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry David didn't want anyone sitting next to him in a restaurant. So we had a MAGA hat on people. He had a MAGA hat on so people would avoid him. Unless you get the crazy person coming in saying, want to sit right next to you because I like your hat, pal. American flag would be better than a Confederate flag. That's the truth. You're thinking of America the Beautiful. What, we were talking about a drinking song, maybe? That's what you're saying? Yeah. I walked into a similar situation here in California, writes Angel. Thank you for calling the other day, by the way. It's all context for sure. It reinforces the colonization doctrine which founded this country. I have a Triumph motorcycle shirt I don't wear anymore because it looks like Trump shirt at a glance, perhaps. Yeah. Square says MAGA the sound before you make before you hurl. Uh, give me the America the Beautiful over the Star Spangled Banner for our anthem. Deidre from Lozica Concrete says, I am a descendant of the Jamestown colony and the Revolutionary War, but this takes patriotism too far. Yeah, I had a relative that came over on the Mayflower. Apparently, the first person in America executed for the crime of murder. That's my family's claim to fame. Our guy was the first one hung for murder. So there you have it. I wouldn't like someone telling me what to be grateful for. Working, paying taxes, voting, raising a family with good morals, and a hardworking attitude is patriotic to me. This smacks of fake patriotism. I like that a lot, Tony. You're living your American life. You're doing your American things. No one needs to tell you that singing a song, standing up at high noon, and facing the flag is patriotic or not. Yeah. I mean, she has every right to do that in her establishment. But I do think you're right about her saying that anyone who doesn't agree is not grateful to live in America. I would disagree with that completely. Thanks for the comment, Tony. Lori says, stop comparing to Nazis. No one is making anyone sing. That's true. There is no forcing. No one is being arrested or ostracized for not singing. No one is also, I would add, Lori, being shot or carted off to a camp for not doing such a thing. She can go on Fox and Friends and complain about it all she wants to. But you're right. You're right about that. There is a big difference. Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting, a very interesting thing that happened there with her going on Fox and Friends and talking about how we collectively are not grateful unless we agree. Angel says, agreed on the symbolism of our flag. Blue is the battleground that now seems to represent our unending conflict with what human decency is. It's really a great way to end it. I appreciate that so much. And thank you for listening, Anonymous. Thank you for calling, you guys, today. So nice to meet you. So cool. Got you standing. Don't stand. Everyone take a seat. Please be seated. But thank you for being here on the Nikki Maduro Show. I appreciate it so much. Again, Nikki back tomorrow and Friday, and so we'll be back to normal. And of course, tomorrow night is the Mark Thompson special event. So I hope that you will join us for that. It is an attempt to raise some money to the show. And I'll tell you why is because we're really trying to keep these shows going. And we need to do a little advertising. So that's why we're trying to raise some money to do a little advertising and grow the show. Because if we grow it, then we can hopefully keep doing it. And I think that's what all of us really want to have happen. So hope to see you tomorrow for that. If you're interested, email the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. And if you have anything that you would like to comment on regarding this show, you can email the Nikki Maduro Show at gmail.com. And you can always email me too, Kim McAllister at gmail.com. I don't mind if you shoot me a message on my personal address. That's totally cool. So thank you for being here. And again, before we check out, please click that thumbs up button. That's free. And that's a way to help us. So wonderful. Wonderful of you to be here and participate in the conversation today. Always walk away from these shows thinking about all the things that you guys have talked about and the ideas. So thank you very much. And I will see you tomorrow. But until then, here's Jakey.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.